Good evening. Was that dramatic enough? I feel like it wasn't. We need more fog. Good evening. That's too much. Hello. It's giving big verbluchig energy. Follow the candles. This week, we are doing something a little bit different. Something that has always fascinated me is the art of spirit photography that was really big in the 1800s. And so I thought, seeing as it is almost Halloween, we would do a video based on that. This video is going to be broken into a couple different parts. Number one, I'm going to give you a rundown of the history, brief overview of the Tintype spirit photography. And then the second half of this video was actually in collaboration with an amazing photographer, Sophie Chalk. She's based in New York, so I will pack up my bags and head... Bags. Wow, that was very Canadian. I will pack up my bags and head to New York, where we are going to take our very own haunted Tintype. Sound good? Now, normally I don't really do research-based videos because there are far more succinct and eloquent people out there on the internet than me. But we're gonna give... Oh, that's cool. Just discovering things in my cursed basement. There's a really old pulley here. Fun. But I'm going to try my best to break down this information in a way that I personally learn. Right then. You see my lightsabers? Oh, can't have that. Tintypes. Picture it. You just acquired the absolute most fire outfit anyone in town has ever placed their eyeballs upon, and you would like to document it. How would you do so? So what started with daguerreotypes, which was a highly involved chemical process and expensive and very, very fragile, then morphed into glass plate. That is a very hard phrase for me to say. Glass plate. And then tintypes. Tintypes became popularized in the 1860s, mainly because they were cheaper, less fragile, and because they were small and durable, they could fit in, well, jacket pocket, just like Jake.
Oh, Jake's in here. Sup, Jake?
A very brief overview of the chemical process of this, because I clearly am not the person to be explaining this. Hold, please. Coating a metal plate with dark lacquer or enamel, then pouring a collodion emulsion mixture, taking the photo, developing the photo, and then applying fixer and sealing the image. You're welcome. Photography was creating images of things that were once invisible, you know, the inside of the human body, frames of motion like a horse's gallop that they've never seen before. And because of all this, people thought that maybe photography could capture life beyond this mortal plane. That led to some dupes and cons called spirit photography. As you may have guessed, spirit photography also became popularized just about the same time. Where there are humans coming up with new inventions, there is the opportunity to make some bread. Now, you can't have this con without the rise of spiritualism. This all came about around the time of the Civil War. Countless upon countless of loved ones were killed. People were desperate to contact people on the other side. So the height of spiritualism started around this time. This type of photography and this type of trickery really preyed on those kinds of people. I really hope you're focused on me. Sometimes when I'm wearing glasses, you don't know that I'm actually a person. Hold on, just have to convince my technology that I am indeed immortal. The process of spirit photography varies, I think, person to person and medium by medium. So if it was on tintypes, the process would have been a little bit different than the glass plate version. With tintype, it was more relying on double exposures. The process is not all too different from a film camera these days. If you think about it in the most basic terms, if you take a picture of a subject or a video of a subject, and then if you take another video removing that subject, but the same exact setup, layer the two together, then the image of that person is going to be slightly transparent. This is kind of the same idea with tintype photography. I can't really figure out how they would have done this without people catching on. From what I gathered, tintype photography kind of has to be done all in one sitting, and so maybe they had the person come sit, they took that exposure, told the grieving mother to get thine booty out of my studio, and then possibly had actors or the spirit come in and sit for the second exposure. From what I understand, a lot of these were done with glass plates. Now, of course, we can't talk about the con that was spirit photography without talking about Mumler, a Boston-based photographer, which I guess in that case will be Mumler. Hey, that Mumler. I can't even do a Boston accent, and I'm from Boston. Hey, that Mumler. Kid, he takes wicked cool pictures. That's my best one. Hire me for any Boston-based voiceover work. Boston, the land of baked beans, cream-filled donuts, and con men. And donkeys, kid. So before starting his career in spirit photography, he was described as a kitchen tinkerer and an amateur chemist, peddling his own homemade elixir for dyspepsia, which I can only imagine is the dysphoria you feel when you order a Diet Coke and all they have is Pepsi. I'm sorry. I had it in my notes in parentheses, Pepsi joke. That's the best that I could come up with on the fly. After realizing that people would pay a pretty penny, quite literally, for photography, he said, hey, I think I'll try that. Now, according to him, while practicing self-portraits and being completely alone in the room, one of his portraits mysteriously came back with a girl made of light. I liked this quote that I saw online. He showed it to a spiritualist friend who confirmed that it was most certainly a ghost. That's most definitely a ghost. And just like that, Bostoners began lining up at his studio, paying as much as $10 for one of the photos. Take your guesses how much that is now. I'll wait. $379. So people were paying almost $400 per plate for this. Really sad when you think about it and how much money these people probably didn't have, and the fact that they were just so desperate to be connected to the people that they lost. I think he was kind of smart in the way that he was selling himself as just as surprised as everyone else. Shocked that the spirits had chosen him to work through, and every time he saw a spirit in the photograph, you know, oh my God. Now, he didn't promise spirits all of the time, and one of my favorite little tidbits is that if the photograph didn't come out as expected, aka maybe you got a spirit that you're like, who is that? Then he would gently coach to think about their past and think about a spirit that may or may not have looked like that would be wanting to contact them. Undoubtedly, he started getting in a little bit of trouble for this. In one instance, one woman was wanting to get a photograph with her departed brother from the Civil War. Wham bam, $400 please. And then her brother miraculously came back from the war and was very much a corporeal being. Although he lucked out on this one because the woman did not decide to blame him. She blamed that presence in the photo as an evil spirit trying to deceive her. Which from now on, if I get a photo of myself that I don't like, that's my excuse. In other instances, people would start recognizing the spirit in the photos. Mainly there was a man who recognized the spirit as his wife, who was very much alive and who very much had just visited the studio to get her portrait taken, which leads into the method of how he did this. Unlike the process of a double exposure, it is thought that he essentially took 2 plates, which is why he could reuse old plates that he already had from other people, put them on top of each other, and then create the finished portrait. To explain that a little bit better, here's someone far smarter than I am.
On the left, we have our plain piece of glass. Then we have our ghoul, and we have our vintage negative. So what Mumler would have done was photograph the sitter. It's very important to make sure that the ghoul lines up evenly with the woman. You can see it's very easy to see the specter there and the woman as well. And as I'm talking, right, I want you to go ahead and inspect the negative. So now I've shown you that there's nothing out of the ordinary, but when I slip it in here, now it's in contact with the ghost. So when I pull it out, we have a total package here. Go ahead and we're gonna load up our negative into our frame. If I open the printing frame to reveal the specter inside.
Eventually he was taken to trial, but he was acquitted because the defense argued that humans were doing something that a generation ago would have seemed like magic, so who is saying that photography couldn't do the same thing? So, with that preface and with that little bit of information, it is about time for me to take my trip to go see Sophie. Let's talk game plan. Sophie and I had our little planning inspiration session, and what we wanted to do was our own little take on this spirit photography, taking inspo from the play Death and the Lady, and then this old photograph that we both really connected with. So we're going to utilize the double exposure and put a bunch of skeleton hands and real hands and flowers that represent death to create our own little story. I am very excited for this trip, and while we are not directly replicating one of the spirit photographs, we are going to be using kind of the same methods that they would have been doing while putting our own little spin on it and creating art. And I am so glad Sophie is the one to be doing this. I am obsessed with her work. The modern spin on historical processes and historical photographs while allowing space for, you know, a demographic that maybe didn't really have access to these photographs. So let's hear from Sophie a little bit more about her process and her background.
I'm Sophie. I'm a fine art photographer, portrait artist, and printmaker specializing in alternative photographic processes that predate roll film. Over the last decade, I've been building a falsified archive of images created using the antique Victorian era tintype process. When making a portrait, I never really want to directly recreate the past. I'm more interested in creating imagery that as you lean into their historical elements, there's kind of a breaking point. When you really look at the details of my photos, whether it's fabrics, makeup, prop design, or even a combination of different aesthetics from different decades on a Victorian process, you'll realize that you're actually looking at a piece of contemporary art rather than something from the past.
And with that, I think I am just about ready to pack up and head to New York. Let's go make some magic. Although they say that New York is the city that never sleeps, I indeed do sleep. Pretty much as soon as we got there, it was time to go to bed. The next morning, I gathered all my props, fueled up, and we were ready to head to Sophie's studio.
It's so good to see you. I can't believe it.
Sophie and I have known each other mutually on the interwebs for many years, so it was such a dream come true to actually meet her and get to work with her. I spent some time ogling her previous work, as you do. And then, of course, I admired her little development tent, which just inherently just looked very aesthetic to me. Aesthetic. Then she showed me some of the props that she had made for this.
Horrified to know that this lives inside me, but... So I've got one that kind of comes this way, and then one that kind of reaches underneath.
My crow brain.
No, I know, right?
Goes burr.
I got a white rose because I feel like that's quite kind of known for grief and death and stuff.
It's a process, baby.
And it will vary. So these are kind of heavy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Jacob Marley.
Figure we could have maybe one end that kind of comes around.
Around,
yeah, maybe like around the torso. So whatever you're actually comfortable with.
Lay it on me.
Okay.
Ebenezer.
Beep. There you go.
Like rotisserie chicken.
I'll just probably have to tone my lighting down a little bit because also you are like wider than me. That's like, that's saying something because I am so Celtic in my ancestry. Like I'm not built for this kind of humidity.
We're built for marshes and potato
And
hunting.
being on like a seaside cliff top in the wind and the rain. like snake around a little bit could be kind of cool. So he's got a lot of stuff that's kind of happening to the sides. Yeah, quite interested in having something kind of coming into frame.
Chef's kiss. Then it was time to get dressed, which unfortunately did mean blocking out my brows. Honestly, I am at the point of almost just having these thin of brows. I'm just kidding, I won't do it. Or maybe. Then it was time to block out all of the different arms that we were going to need and take a test shot. Also time for me to brush off my hand modeling.
Go into my little hobbit hole. Farewell.
Look at boop. Oh, whoa. What's happening?
Okay, so should we just like go buck wild?
Let's do it. Always. Now that we were comfortable with the blocking, it was time to move on to the chunky 8x10. So we started the process again with even more hands and poses. And we even got Nick involved because you know what they say, a couple that hand models together is full of talent and should be revered.
Absolutely haunted. 3, 2, 1.
Those are good noises coming from your cocoon. Of course.
Look at all those details. Can you see how crispy that starry is? Go under the fix, baby. Go on. There we go.
So like haunting. Look at it. Wow. So we ended up doing quite a few different versions of the same setup, which I just felt like each version had its own unique feel and its own unique story, which I really, really love.
Oh, it was so good to meet you and just like make art and have fun.
After some hugs and Nick and I's quest to find some gelato, it was time to head to bed and head right out of New York. And just like that, our journey has come to an end. Huge, huge thanks to Sophie. It was such a fulfilling and fun day. I'm so happy with what we created. She is truly so talented. So if you would like your own Tintypes taken, she's your gal. That is it. I cannot believe October is already almost over. Absolutely insane, but also I am very ready for it to be over because every year I make the decision to work myself into the actual ground until I end up looking like this gif. If you would like to see what I've been up to, there's Maksy over on Instagram, behind the scenes and live streams over on Patreon. Very excited to take a nap, which I will be doing on November 1st. And normally you wouldn't see me for another 2 weeks, but I am going to have a bonus video up next week so that I can take the first week of November off. Keep an eye out for that. It's cursed. I hope that you like this little journey. I know it's a little bit different from what I normally do. It's nice to have a little, educational experience every now and then for me personally to take a break from making things. I felt like it was very fitting for this time of year, and I hope that you learned something. I love you so very much, whether you're new or old to this channel. If you're new here and you feel like sticking around, feel free to subscribe. I upload every other Friday. And we have fun here. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye. You get very shiny, so you'll have to be on the lookout for that.
I get super shiny. Don't worry, I'm the shiniest.
No, I'm the shiniest.
You wanna fight me?
you wanna fight? Ooh. Good thing there's no smoke detectors down here. But I feel like in order to... My name is Angela. Also became popularized. I'm alright. Don't worry. Others began lining up as Ooh-wee.
That is ominous.
Sorry, ma'am. We only have Pepsi.